Hello and welcome to Matt's Mission Marine, your home for my take on boats, waterways, and interesting conversations along the way. I really hope that everyone's enjoying the content that we're able to put out for you guys. I really enjoyed the conversation that I have today, and I hope you guys get some really good information out of it. I hope you guys find it educational. Don't forget to please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. There's a bell you can hit for notifications. Make sure you select all. That way you don't miss any content coming up. And if you like the video, hit the thumbs up for me. Thanks, guys. Today, I'm interviewing two of my best friends. They're two young ladies that when they were teenagers actually lived on a boat for a year down in the Caribbean with their parents. We're going to hear all about their adventures and what it's like to live on a sailboat. So let's strap on those life vests and get started. So you kind of mentioned it, something about like pulling up on an island around the holidays. Tell me about that. Like, how did you guys celebrate things? Cause y'all were gone during like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Thanksgiving
in
was
Yost Van Dyke, there's this restaurant called Foxy's,
which which is like, it looks like a Key West vacation spot for college kids. But there's never any college kids there because that's just
You have to get there by boat.
Yeah, you can't. There's no airplane. There's no airport.
It's
You
teeny
have to sail
tiny,
there.
teeny tiny.
And Foxy was the owner. He was the owner, and he was what one of our other boating friends called well-oiled. He enjoyed his own wares, but well, there's a reason he owns a bar.
Yeah,
he liked
very
the bar.
very fun guy. He and his son ran the restaurant and bar,
And there was a scuba place connected to it as well.
So they had all your standard Caribbean stuff like red stripe and
Jerk chicken, and all that good stuff.
and lobster. So for Thanksgiving they have this lobster dinner. So
but they also put in sweet potatoes for the Americans.
exactly. So we got a couple of fun, standard American sides with lobster.
Yeah.
And Foxy came by and talked to us about our Thanksgiving experiences in the U.S. and he was always really interested to talk to us, and we went there regularly outside of Thanksgiving, and also to another bar on an island not far from there, Tortuga. Called Jolly Roger. And we had our parents' anniversary there.
Well, Tortuga is where we used to rent boats before we bought the one we lived on.
It's a Voyage 440 boat, and Voyage had an office there. I don't know if they
Had
still
a rental,
do.
probably not. But the restaurant was sort of a family tradition.
Thanksgiving, Yost Van Dyke, very fun. And Christmas, we bought like a 7-inch tree.
Fake tree. It was like
This big. And we had those little clip-on
ornament things.
the little presents. And then we went shopping in the local fairs for like gifts and stuff. And it was always really small because it can't be a big thing. It's not like we were buying electronics or anything.
It was like swimsuits and books and puzzles.
Swimsuits,
small
puzzles,
things.
Jewelry, fun things like that. So
we had a 2-person hammock.
Yeah,
but that was mom
parachute,
and dad's
parachute
gift.
hammock.
That was for mom and dad. Then we commandeered it. It was ours.
Yeah, we used to tie out this hammock out over one of the trampolines. I think usually
It was over the middle, really, between the trampolines, but because that's
And
how we
so-
could tie it up.
Yeah, and so either one or both of us would sit in there and read, like forever.
Always.
And then sometimes we would tie it up at the front, like on the trampoline, and like a parachute, and sit in it, unless the wind blew at us.
Yes, because it would get really hot. It would be like one of those big tent things you lay out on the beach and it just blows itself. We were inventive with blanket forts on the trampoline.
Oh yeah, but that's it's not like it's a white Christmas or anything.
I think we just left that little tree up all the time too. Like we never took it down. It was just there.
Yeah,
The little Christmas tree just stayed.
I think we did eventually take it down. I think
Well, when they sold the boat, I think.
when we got towards the Bahamas, I think we eventually took that down, just because we were like, this has been here too long. I mean, we tried to do as much tradition as possible with a little alteration, and just try and. We had a nice little Christmas dinner. I don't remember what we had at Christmas. We tried to make it as American as possible.
Yeah.
We had mashed potatoes, I think.
I know. Mom had got some turkey breasts, and we had some turkey. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so we tried to keep tradition as much as possible, but it was still, the Caribbean.
Well, the family fun time was always card games and puzzles and stuff at night.
Yeah.
So.
You guys were, teenage years, pre-teen years through there. How was it living on the boat? Like the layout of the boat? Did you have your own bedroom? How was it in close quarters, not only with each other but with your parents?
Well, layout of the boat. There are 3. So it's a catamaran. So there were 2 hulls.
There were 4 staterooms, but we used 1 for storage.
No, there was only 3.
There was?
Because the rear was just a bathroom with a shift bed behind the mirror.
Oh,
But
that's right.
So there are 2 hulls. Ren and I had a whole hull to ourselves because there was 2 bedrooms on that
The
side.
port side.
Yes. And then Mom and Dad had the other hull because that's where their bathroom. They're like the master suite style.
And there's like a little
of the
desk
ship is.
over there too.
Yeah. It had the bigger bathroom with the standing shower instead of the shower that you have to pull the sink and hold over your head.
Trisha's room was the
Forward.
Forward. Mine was port aft.
Yes.
So my room was basically under the gathering area
And next to the engine.
and yeah, the engine was like right behind me. And then Trisha was like right next to the trampoline. Underneath like kind of sort of underneath the kitchen a little. Yeah, we had our own rooms, our own beds, nice big queen size beds. But you know, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had little stairs up to the beds and storage and stuff and closets. We had done paintings on the walls for our bedrooms.
Oh yeah.
And
I kissed the wall a million times with lipstick, I think.
I painted a sun and then like a rainbow across the ceiling and then a pot of gold on the other side.
Yeah,
It was really funny.
our parents let us do whatever we wanted with the rooms.
I mean,
And,
paint comes off.
Exactly. It was really fun. But yeah, we had our own rooms. I don't know, being a teenager is not really easy on parents. It's not really easy on the teenager either. So
And especially if there's 2 teenagers the same age at the same time.
going through the same womanly changes.
It's
But
so fun.
But you know, we did our best, and you know, I mean, kids are still gonna argue with their parents and everything. But
I was a little angry teenager. They took my lock away on my door.
she kept locking the room, and you can't do that when you're like traveling. You can't lock the door because what if something happens? You can't get to that person and you can't get out. So we had to take the lock off.
Yeah, living in a confined space with your family constantly is a lesson in patience.
For sure. I feel like we learned a lot about our family, about each other, even though we were arguing a lot.
Communication skills did not improve over time. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But
they improved a little
Okay,
because
maybe a
then
little.
we got better at arguing.
there you go.
But yeah, I mean, I think overall the experience was positive. There were definitely the moments where you argue and you have disagreements, but
Well, there's definitely a lot of arguments being removed from our friends. We're like, but I'm missing their bar mitzvah. It's not fair.
and then you realize it's really not that important. Yeah, I think that our relationship with our parents got stronger, but also a little more distant. But I think that's just because we were teenagers.
We afterwards we got very distant because we were so
deprived of social activity
so we wanted to separate ourselves
as much as
from
possible.
You mentioned about being teenagers. Now, you turned, was it 13? And it was not long after you guys left. His
Right.
birthday's in November.
Right,
So how was your birthday on the boat?
So we turned 13 on a passage between Bermuda and the
BVS.
British Virgin Islands.
You remember it better.
There's a bakery that makes rum cakes in Bermuda.
That's their thing.
And they're really good, tasty. But being 13, when we tasted the rum version of the rum cake, we were like, ew, gross. So we wanted the non-alcoholic version of a certain flavor, but Mom had not told them that, and we found out later
Or she
after
did,
we left.
and they gave her the wrong one. Or
Either,
something
well,
like
who
that.
knows? She ended up with
Some
a
sort of
rummy
mix-up.
cake instead of a not rummy cake, and we were very disappointed. But Mom made our favorite dinner, like this marinated pork tenderloin thing for dinner, but
Very American.
and it was very nice and tasty. But we hit rough seas,
I don't remember.
but we weren't gonna hit the storm itself, so we hit rough seas, and I upchucked my birthday dinner.
Trisha got sick.
I was very disappointed.
I think I was also unwell, but I don't think it came up for me.
It was very sad.
Getting seasick became less and less the
Yeah, it
longer we
happened
were on the
less.
trip, but it came up every now and then when you get like 6-foot swells and stuff. Like, oh my
Just
god.
in the middle of the day, in the middle of the ocean, you get giant 6-foot waves for no freaking reason.
And then you're like just trying to live your life below deck.
I'm just glad.
And then it's like bouncing around, and you're like, well, that was a surprise, and you have to come out and deal with
so
yourself.
you don't. Yeah, but I just. Luckily, we're on a catamaran instead of a monohull, because that would have been horrifying.
Yeah, I think that the choice of catamaran by my parents was. Yeah. I think the choice of a catamaran by them was the best decision, especially considering what we had planned to do.
Well, and even just being able to spread out. You can't really spread out on a monohull unless it's like ginormous.
Speaking of going to like different islands and countries and things like that, what was the process of checking in, like going through customs?
Oh, well,
How
every
was that?
island kind of had its own thing.
Yeah, some islands the custom agent would come to you before you stepped on soil. Sometimes you docked up and went in.
Yeah. So our aunt came met us. I don't remember where, but she met us at one island, and we went to like this customs trailer on an island, and we all just had our passports. We had to answer a few questions and put a stamp in it. So our passports by the end were covered in stamps. It would also depend on where you are, right? Like if you're within the BVIs, you can go island to island without any problem. They kind of have an agreement with the USVIs too.
Yeah, once you change countries, they want you to check it. BVIs are all in one, USVIs are all in one. Like some of them are like archipelago collections like that. But some islands ask you not to island hop, because then you have to check back in. Others say it's fine as long as you're within your visa length. Yeah.
So how would you know where the customs office was?
You had to
I think
look it up.
Dad always knew. We had to look though.
We had guides and things like that, books. We had a rudimentary internet.
Yes.
But
and
my
internet
dad,
cafes as well to check before we left.
Yeah. So Dad did a ton of research before we even left.
Yeah.
And then he would continue to do research, getting guidebooks at different islands and things like that. And there's this entire community of cruisers that honestly you just ask somebody and say, hey, do you know where XYZ is?
And then, or if they'll be like, you don't want to go to that customs office, you want to go to this one.
Yeah, because this one takes this long, this one doesn't take as long.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I guess that's what I was thinking about. It's like you pull up to this island, and when we pull up
You're
to
just
a
like,
boat, it's like huge.
There's
it's
a
like,
beach, okay, I'm done. No,
Yeah,
it's really
what-
that way.
How would you even know what harbor to go to, or did all harbors have their own customs office, or?
No.
Most of the time when you like hop onto a dock, there's somebody there who's like that you can either local or knows what they're talking about. You say, hey, where's your customs office, or do I need to check in with customs? I mean, yeah, I think one of the more interesting ones is when custom comes to you. That's pretty fun. Then they just ask you for your passport, take your picture, and then they
usually
make sure
happens-
you don't have anything crazy.
Yeah, that actually happened on the USVIs. It usually happens on like the more
Populated
or
islands.
busy islands,
Yeah.
because they just can't have everybody coming to the customs office. It's just too busy. Yeah.
I guess as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do and checking in the customs, it's probably not a big deal because they know who you are and they know.
Yeah,
that
and there's
you're
always
checking in.
always places they tell you just don't go.
Right.
Exactly.
So just don't go.
What about wildlife? Like you talked a little bit earlier about some of the fish and some of the animals you saw. What other kind of wildlife did you see along the way?
Wildlife?
Sharks?
Whales.
Whales?
I don't
Lots
know.
of sharks.
Yeah, but they're usually like nurse sharks, like the smaller kind.
Well, tiger sharks and lemon sharks too, but
Yeah.
nothing big.
Nothing huge. Usually the kind that leave you
Harmless.
be. The stuff that sit around coral reefs and stuff. We saw turtles a lot, sea turtles, and we saw a whale.
Oh, we saw a bunch of porpoise type. We had these little like animal card things, like little pictures, and they're like, this is the
Again,
animal.
part of school.
Yes. So we were like, what is that? So we found there was a bunch of like false whale porpoises that we saw all the time. We saw a bunch of like it looks like killer whale, but it's not a killer whale. I forget that one. And there are lots of animals.
All your regular coral reef stuff. Parrotfish. Saw parrotfish.
So many
a lot.
parrotfish. Lots of barracuda. I saw one really giant one. I think we saw one humpback whale.
Yeah, pretty close to the U.S.
Wildlife on the islands, not so much. Maybe some birds, but overall it was just water wildlife, really.
Yeah, I mean, and then you see, we were talking about Conch Island and where they catch all the lobster and conches, and
They just toss the shells on this one island. That's just where they toss them, so they call it Conch Island.
that's where all the conch shells are, and we used to collect them every now and then if we found a cool one. And
You talked earlier about your mom kind of started collecting the reusable grocery bags.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
What were some of the common souvenirs that you guys would like to get from each island you went to?
Keychains.
Keychains
And flags.
Keychains and flags.
So we would get those little desk flags, you know, for the.
We had so many at one point.
Well, we had one for every island.
Yeah. One of the best islands we went to was Saba.
Oh, Saba is really cool.
We got some pretty cool souvenirs from there. But the whole island is like it's a nature reserve, so you're not allowed to touch anything underwater.
Yep. But I mean, it's not like you could really touch much. The place is just like coral reef, and then the sun just plummet to the floor.
It's a volcano.
This is really high, like crazy volcano.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Moana, like that opening, like little cartoon where they're like, "I lava you" or whatever. It's literally like that island. It's like this just island just like rose up, and it's just straight, and it's got a peak.
But there's a lot of stories about Saba. Saba was there was a lot of things that happened on Saba.
Yeah, like a boat getting lost.
A boat just drifted off, and we had to go help and find it. And Tomatillo was the name of that boat.
Yeah.
This little.
I was just happy we found it. It got stuck in reef.
But there's a lot of the way that the roads were made in Saba was very interesting.
They had like this impossible
road. Yeah.
It was a road, and then
but the guy was like, "I will do it."
There's an
very determined to make it. It was like the 1800s.
There's also like a landing strip for airplanes.
Yes. I don't know how that's possible.
It's insane.
It's like this.
It literally like it's the end of a cliff. It's the end of the landing strip.
Oh my god, it's terrifying.
So you mentioned that your dad did a ton of research before you guys left, and continuously did research along the way.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much research you do, there's always going to be something that you wish you had or would have done differently. What would that be?
I think I wish we had all taken sailing lessons.
Yeah, maybe
Dad maybe taught us a little, but I feel like we should have had like professional lessons for this boat in particular, so that we could have been more helpful in sailing, because it was just Mom and Dad doing the sailing. Dad was like, pull that rope, that's it.
Yeah, we did the occasional winch turn.
Yeah,
but we didn't know exactly like the mechanics of everything. Yeah. We knew the names of all the sails and mostly which ropes to pull on. But when you're trying to get it to work, it's easier to have someone who already knows what's going on. And yeah, I'd say that that's probably one of the things we would have wanted to do beforehand, like had professional lessons. But I mean, you learn as you go. I mean, we sailed that little makeshift sunfish thing.
Yeah, that wasn't a giant sailboat. It wasn't a 40-foot. It was catamaran. It was this little
4-foot
makeshift half kayak thing that they had a PVC post and an old sail on. Like,
I mean, we learned how to jibe.
We did. We had to duck under the PVC post to jibe the sail over. If
you can sail a tiny boat, I guess you can sail a big boat.
Yeah, well, we could sail part of that boat. Sure, we could. Not well, but probably.
Yeah, we learned the lingo as we went, I think.
For people that don't know anything about sailing, you're not always going with the wind, right?
No,
so what happens when you have to go against the wind?
Oh, lots of weird angles.
Yeah. So if the wind's behind you,
it's easy.
It's easy. You pull the boom, which is holding the mainsail, you just push it over as far as you can.
Catch the wind.
And because if that's the direction you're trying to go. But if the wind isn't going in the direction that you want to be going in, you're going at angles to get in that direction.
Or if you're going into the wind, you have to counter sail.
Yeah.
So you're going to have sails going in two different directions to catch the wind, and
pull you
geometry and physics, whatever, will push you forward.
Yeah. It takes longer to get in the direction that you're trying to get,
obviously,
typically in a sailboat than you would, say, a motorboat or something. But it's definitely more entertaining.
Well, and there is this moment when you're sailing, and it's a nice day, you're going with the wind, it's nice and calm, and the engines get turned off, and you hear nothing
except the wind and the waves.
Just
awesome.
You don't hear anything. It's just the sound of the wind going through the sail, the sound the boat makes when it cuts through the water, the sound, whole relaxing moment. You can just breathe
and relax. Yeah, it's so nice.
It's like
it was one of our I think it's my dad's
favorite part of the day.
It's definitely Dad's favorite part. It was definitely ours, I think, too.
Yeah, I think we definitely came to appreciate it over time. Sailing was the best part,
and we liked it too because then we could read better.
Yeah, and
there was no noise.
There was no shaking of the engines in the hull, and there was no loud sounds of the engine. It's just peaceful.
How about sharing? You had mentioned learning the lingo. How about sharing a few of the main terms that a sailor would know that
Well,
you may
easy.
not know. Like port is obviously to the left.
Starboard is the right.
Aft is the back.
Forward is the forward.
Or bow.
Or the bow is
Bow's
forward.
forward. So
For
trampoline is so you have two holes, right? And so instead of having open space in the
So it's like
checkered fabric, so you have two. You'll have this like
one between
in the middle that goes to the jib that goes
which
to
is
the jib.
which is one of the forward sails. It's one of the sails from the bow that will attach to the top of the mast.
And then so you have one on each side, so that you can use that space, which we did quite regularly.
You lay out tan or read out there, curl up with a blanket and take a
We
nap.
So you've got your galley, which is your kitchen. Ours was inside.
Salon is usually just the hangout area, but most commonly it's where the table is to eat.
Right, so we had two salons, I suppose. We had one outside with a table and some benches, and then inside.
There's the cockpit, obviously that's where you drive the boat. It's where all the instruments and the steering wheel is.
You have the head. That's the bathroom.
Very important.
We had two of those. It was very handy.
And then the mast is the big tall thing
Yeah,
all the
big
sails
tall
attached to. And then your boom is your mast and
It's the thing, the bottom part of the sail that holds the sail.
that holds the main sail on so that it's flat and taut. A winch is something you use. It's usually you get electrical.
It's a
winches
crank.
to push a button, but it's this big crank thing you put on top of where the rope is.
An anchor is this.
It's a large, lightweight material sail that
And you-
catches
You usually use
heavy
it.
winds.
Well, not always heavy winds. Just
You can do
any
light winds,
wind
too.
from behind you.
Yeah,
So how many sails did y'all have?
We had
Three
three
sails.
sails.
How big was the boat?
44 feet and 6 inches.
And you talked about having two heads. So that's
Two
a lot of
heads.
gray water or dirty
Yes.
water. What do you do with that?
Legally.
It's legal to dump in international water. So that's usually what we
you have to
do.
go off a certain, like several miles off land and dump it.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
think
you
it's
can,
like 4 or 5 miles offshore.
right, which we didn't do very often. You usually pay to have it pulled out.
Okay.
So
Sometimes if we did that, we would also fill the water tanks.
exactly, and so you just get like a hose to fill it up, and then you filter it however you please. That's the water you use to shower with. That's the water you use
Cook
to go to the
with.
bathroom with. We had hand pump heads.
Which is not fun.
You have to do. There's a lot of switching to the different types of pumping.
You talked earlier about making water. What did you use the water that you made for?
It's usually, we would only make water if we were low, like we hadn't filled the tanks, we'd been taking a lot of showers, who knows?
Or
we'd
if
been
Dad-
on a long trip, or Dad forgot to get the water filled, something.
Or if he just really wanted to use it.
He wanted to use the desalinator and he wanted to make some water.
We would use it for cleaning things, and I don't think we ever used it for drinking,
No.
but washing
Drink
dishes,
was-
stuff like that.
Yeah. Washing dishes.
Another thing you
was
learn to use a
interesting.
lot less water for.
Like no water at all. Like if we were rinsing, we had to turn the water on very
Like
low,
drip.
just over dripping. It's barely rinsed.
There's a lot of things you learn to
You
do
could-
with little.
Well, Dad could hear if we were using too much water because the pump would constantly run.
Right,
Because
right.
we'd be like, and you'd be like, "Why are you using so much water? Stop using the water." We learned to take half baths. So we
Half
jump in the ocean to get wet, clean, and then rinse off
And then
with,
rinse, yeah.
with regular water.
Also, when we got provisions and stuff, we usually got stuff in bulk as much as we could, so we didn't have as much trash. Because the more trash you collect, the more you have to
Heavy.
take up space,
And it's heavier on the boat.
and it's heavier on the boat, and like you don't know how long it's going to be until you can find somewhere to take trash. So another reason why you don't use so much toilet paper.
That or another reason that you use a lot of recyclable items.
Mm-hmm.
In the Caribbean, there's a lot of different kind of beaches. It's not just like you here in the United States. You go to the beach and it's this beautiful white beach. There's different colors and types and materials. Tell us about those.
There's
Black
I think
sand beaches.
black
are
sand
cool.
beaches are fun. The volcanic sand. So like, it was probably Montserrat, which was an active volcano at the time. Actually,
That
I think
was
it
really
still
cool.
is.
Our taxi driver was really nice and basically became our tour guide in
He
Montserrat.
just hung out with us all day. It was really
He
cool.
just drove us around and told us all kinds of stuff about how his family was impacted by Montserrat and the eruption
90s,
and
1991,
how it affected,
the whole
the
island.
whole island and the airport. And, that was
Yeah.
really cool. And that's
But they had black sand beaches, but I mean, you didn't really want to hang out because everything was covered in soot. Like our whole boat was black when we got back.
It was great.
It was great, yeah. And then for miles around, you would still be getting soot because it's an active volcano. It's soot all the time.
But there were other places that had black sand beaches, pink sand
beaches, like in Antigua. That's like broken up conch shells.
Yeah.
That's why it's pink.
Which is not really nice on your feet.
No, it doesn't feel good.
But
it's sharp.
It's very pretty.
It is pretty.
And then you get, your regular sand, some sort of mix of black and white,
shell breakdown and stuff. And sometimes there's beaches that are so fine, like it feels like you're walking through baking powder.
Yeah. Oh my
goodness. It squeaks.
What island was that? There was an island where we went to a magic show where the sand was like that. It might have been St. Bart's.
Probably St. Bart's because it was a dirty magic show.
Was it?
It was.
Oh, they still watched and broke it and then returned it. Yeah, I think it was St. Bart's because we were like around these pretty well-to-do folks,
wealthy people, yeah.
And we went to this private beach with that type of like baking powder,
squeaky sand.
So nice. It's beautiful. And then you get, depending on the beach you're on, you get certain types of waves and everything. So.
The volcano. Let's go back to that real quick.
Montserrat.
Yeah. So was it a lava flowing volcano or a stone or what was it?
It's called pyroclastic flow, something like that.
It's gaseous. So whatever melted was super liquidy and very fast flowing. It was nothing like the lava you see in Hawaii in movies, right? So the destruction of the island was quick, and a lot of people were surprised by it. There was a lot of catastrophic damage and loss of life. It was horrifying. Like 2/3 of the island is just gone.
Yeah, so
covered in this weird gray like matter.
Yeah. So it's mostly like ash, rocks, gas, acid, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when it flowed into the water, it killed something like 200,000 fish in an hour.
Yeah.
Because it changed the temperature of the water.
Yeah.
All of the fish anywhere near the island just
died. Yeah.
Boiled instantly.
But one of the most, I think, distinctive things about that type of volcano is rocks flying in the air.
It just spit it out.
Like small, like rocks or like
boulders.
Boulders.
Boulders. Just
like the size of a house.
Out. Yeah, so it's like blocked off by the government
for miles away from them.
For
a
reason,
because of all the boulders and all of the just damage that it could cause
and I think that a lot of the people on that island, those that did not perish or leave, they are living in, makeshift homes and
lots of trailers,
pushed all up against each other because they don't want to leave their home, and they're really proud of Montserrat.
There was no town anywhere where the volcano didn't leave damage. There was just I think there was a small port where we came in, but it wasn't really the tourist side of the island, right?
All right, so you went on your trip. You guys left from here, went out to Bermuda, went down to the Caribbean, kind of came back to Florida, came back to Wilmington, North Carolina, right?
No, it was
Beaufort.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was it adjusting back to life, not being on the boat once you got back?
We got a lot of, wow, you did that, tell me about that. Oh my God, what were you doing?
And that didn't stop for like a year.
When we first went back to school, all the kids are like, who are you? What did you do over the summer? And I was like, well, I just got back from living on the bed
for a year.
And they're like,
actually, we almost skipped right into 9th grade. Like we almost tested out of the 8th grade because our parents taught us so well.
Yeah, I think I was
we were like this close to being like, maybe we should just skip the 8th grade.
No. Trisha was way ahead of me for sure in math and science, and I remember Mom advocating for you to get into the advanced courses.
What about life at home with your parents?
Life at home was weird because we came back and our neighbors had taken care of the house and the cars.
Oh yeah, so much more room, right? We were able to separate from each other. I was like really excited to like do stuff outside again. So we started doing sports and hanging out outside with all these friends and neighbors and
I went back to horseback riding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I did softball.
There's a lot going on.
Although
outside.
I will say we were excited to have TV again.
Yes, we did a little splurge on the TV when we got back.
We overdid it a little. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to separate ourselves from each other.
Adjusting to being in school was, I think, the hardest part because we forgot how to socialize properly. We're like, how do you talk to people?
Well, how do you talk to people your own age? I think that was the biggest adjustment.
Or how do you talk to people your own age that aren't your siblings?
Yeah,
For sure.
I certainly enjoyed the conversation with Trish and Ren today. I hope you guys did as well. I certainly found it very educational. Has me about ready to go buy a sailboat and hit the waters. If you guys found this helpful and educational as well, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and also that like button for me. Thank you.